Aphex Twin is one of the musical aliases of Richard D. James, who's also known as AFX, Blue Calx, Bradley Strider, Caustic Window, GAK, Phonic Boy on Dope, Polygon Window, Power Pill, Q-Chastic, Smodge Face, Soit PP, The Dice Man, The Tuss, and user 1801191, and he may have other aliases as well. He's predominantly an experimental electronic music producer, and the things that he says in public about his private life are often lies or vastly exaggerated. So we will stick with he is Irish-born but British, and he has released 6 albums as Aphex Twin. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the 5th album released under the Aphex Twin name. And I've reviewed this before. I have done other series of reviews before. So when I had a blog, I reviewed this. On that occasion, I listened through twice. On this occasion, I've listened through twice. So that's 4 times I've listened through this. The review that I'm about to give you is strongly drawn from the previous review. Having listened recently and reread it, I think I pretty much summed it up in that. So it's got some added bits, but mostly this is the same review, basically. So this is a double album, and it's pretty long. It has 2 distinct styles, and the tracks mostly alternate between those 2 styles. Not absolutely strictly, and there's a few occasional things that are slightly different in there. But let's kind of break it up into those 2 styles and deal with each one in turn. So there are drill and bass tracks, which is kind of a version of drum and bass, somewhat descended from jungle, I understand. And these are mostly not hugely musical, although there are sometimes notes. And the tracks differ in how strongly you could say there's something musical going on. It's mostly about rhythms and sounds in here. There are sometimes melodic and harmonic passages. So I'd like you to imagine that somebody's got hold of a sequencer, which is it's software that allows you to program the playing of computer-based or computer-controlled instruments. And as well as the sequencer, they've got a load of drum and sound effects samples, and then they've created an intricate pattern to play those sounds, which is rhythmic. But doesn't so much have repeated patterns. There's many, many variations on this, sometimes different lengths. It's sometimes hard to identify if he's even got an idea of bars in here, of, in kind of repetitive nature. And then also imagine that it's being played at 2 or 3 times the speed that you'd expect for it to be danceable. So it's coming at you really, really fast. So it's like a busy wave of rhythm and effect sounds. And then there's occasionally woven notes, even vocal snatches in there. It's kind of interesting, but it's also kind of an assault on the senses. And this kind of music I often describe as being music for people with extreme ADHD. It's kind of got that feeling. It really runs along very quickly and is forever kind of changing and doing something different. In between those, the other kind of track here is being described as classical, although at times it's a bit more like contemporary classical, which is maybe less conventionally harmonic, although as I say, some of the tracks are actually very conventional in here. And these use apparently they're also sequenced, but they use piano sound and a prepared piano sound. So a physical prepared piano is a piano in which somebody has done things to alter the sounds, mostly by doing things to the strings inside the piano, and mostly by inserting things between the strings and under the strings, so things like rubbers and screws or forks, spoons and things. Apparently one of the prerequisites for being proper prepared piano is that you can take everything off and then it sounds exactly like a piano again. Although apparently this must be a sample prepared piano sound that is using. So Some of the harmonies are straightforward, as I said. Some of them are more experimental. These tend to be shorter, and they're kind of like little studies, and sometimes they're a bit spacey in nature. So the alternating pattern here of the gentle stuff and the hyperactive stuff lasts for 30 tracks. So it's an hour and 40 minutes. It's a double album, and it's huge. Individually, the tracks are interesting. As an album, it's somewhat relentless, and it just goes on and on. I have to say, though, I would think I'm glad it's not a double album of one of the styles, or even possibly a single album of one of the styles would be too much. That kind of there is some balancing between the two. So apparently, Aphex Twin, the creator, doesn't anticipate people listening to this as an album, and he expects people to rip the tracks that they like and put them in playlists with other stuff, because that's what he does. And I have to say, having listened to it now as an album 4 times in total, I think I agree with him. It probably would do better just inserted amongst other things, but there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of music for your buck. So I would say it's not really an album for general consumption. It's certainly not an album you put on with guests around. It's not offensive, but it's not easy to listen to. And in fact, there are some bits that I found particularly difficult or disturbing to listen to. So the track Mont Saint-Michel and St. Michael's Mount, towards the end, has got a very fast, goes for switching the sound off and on, as if it's kind of, you got a stuttering connection, and it's done fast and for a long time. And when I listened to that on headphones particularly, I found that really difficult, just because of the way that it was stuttering. The next track after it, which is called Guarec 2, involves screaming and general horror sound effects. And that also was quite difficult to listen to. And the whole point of the horror sound effects is that it sets your nerves on edge, because it uses particular frequencies in the frequency spectrum, and is particularly played on that. So overall, I'd say I respect it. There's a lot of work gone into this, but I didn't enjoy it very much, I have to say. It's not a great listening experience. So that's what I think. What do you think? Please talk to me through the comments box. That's it from me for now.